All right, we are live. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another Aquarium Co-op Club presentation. We're very excited this week because we do have Mr. Oliver Knott. So before we get into the presentation, I do want to thank all of you for being members. We very much appreciate your membership, and we're always looking at ways of offering you more as a member. So part of it obviously are these talks. You get 5% off the website. We're doing the coins and all that kind of cool stuff. So thank you very much. If you guys have questions, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of them, just chat them in the chat, and I will be looking for good questions to ask Oliver, and we'll probably save some for the very end, and we'll also possibly have some that might fit mid presentation. So just put in your question there, and I'll be looking for those. And if you put at Tazawa Tanks, I might see it a little bit easier. So with that, let's welcome. I don't think we need to really tell you the resume. This is the incomparable, the world-renowned Mr. Oliver Knott. And so Oliver, welcome to the Aquarium Co-op Club. I do want to share for everybody out there that Oliver is kind of dealing with a little lung coughing thing. So if you hear him coughing or something, he'll probably mute himself or just excuse it. But he is on the road to recovery, and he's very, very gracious to speak to us, even if he's not feeling 100%. So Oliver, welcome to the club. Thank you very much for agreeing to speak to our members all around the country and all around the world. I know this is something that you don't do very often, so we're very honored to have you. So thank you.
Thanks very much, and thanks for your invitation. And hello to all the members. And like you said, it's for me, it's I think one of the first time I'm making something live broadcast stream, something I'm not so common in this, maybe because
Yeah,
also
yeah.
of my
Well,
language.
again, we're very excited. So that is true. So for all of you members out there, this is a rare occurrence because Oliver doesn't do this very often, if ever. So he did a special favor to us as he loves our Aquarium Co-op family, and so we're very lucky to have you. So Oliver, I'm going to go ahead and let you start presenting. I'll share your screen, and
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. so So I think before I start, I want to introduce myself a little bit. So I start 1988 in a pet store, working in a pet store when I was 16. So I'm born 72. Okay, and in 1988 I start to work in a pet store, and for around 13 years till 2001. So I work 13 years in a pet store, in an aquatic store. I'm making a manager of a store and everything. So, and then I decide to make my own, make me self-employed in 2001. And this was also the first period I start to make some pictures of my aquariums. So it's what 2001, 2002. So it's now 20 years ago. So there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, something else. And I create there's an old site pbase.com, and I put all my pictures in this site, and they're still existing. So this is just from 2004 around to 2013, and the site is still existing. And the most of the slides I show you now are from this period, because this is the my not my strongest, but this is the period I start to go into this aquascaping business more, because before I sell a lot of fish and also aquarium and making I set up an aquarium, but in this period I start to be my own job. And so for this reason, so if you are interested, you just put pbase on Google and Oliver Knott, and then you can take a look at this old images. I think 7,000 images I put inside this. So this was my entry to the world of internet with aquascaping. So for this reason, I choose some of the slides. So at the beginning, one of my biggest job there was to help shops, like this is a Colosso, to set up the whole shops when they are open new shops. And I was responsible for all the livestock not demonstration, presentation from the livestock. So I set up all the fish racks, and this was my absolute favorite. It was the aquatic plants selling selections. So we had really huge amount of aquatic plants in the shops, and so I set up all the fish racks in the shop and also the show tanks. So this was one of my biggest job in the first years, from maybe 2001 till 2012. I think I opened 20 different shops in this size. So, and also big show tanks like this. This is a 5-meter discus tank, but with the big tanks I will talk about later, because I have some slides later. So there's a firework outside here, but you can't hear it. So we have actually 8 in the evening, 8 p.m. in Germany. So thanks for watching me at early in the morning in the USA, or not so early, depending on the side of. I think East Coast is now 11, right? And West Coast 11, and East maybe 1 or 2. So we also have some scaping launches in the shops. So, and one of my favorite was the aquatic plant show tanks, because my philosophy was always, if you show something in the shop very nice, you can sell it. So for the shop owner, I told them, if you don't present your plants or your show tanks right, or your fish, you can't sell them. So this was my passion, to try to show the most aquatic plants they had in the shop in different show tanks. For this is a sample from a 500-liter tank, 500-liter gallon. Sorry, I can't. I didn't exactly know the gallon, but I think it's not so. I think you know it. So this is around 1 meter 30 long, and this is I think, let me think, about 3 weeks or 2 weeks after I planted it, and this is maybe 4 months later. So you can see the difference here and here, and the development of the plants. Like you see this here in the front, this Pocostemon here, or the red plant. And you can imagine, if you are a customer, you go inside a shop and you see this plant, and you say, "Oh, what's a nice plant or this?" And then the people want to buy these plants because the presentation is so nice. Also the fish. So this was my philosophy I try to put in the shops. So this is why I will say my most important aquascaping tank, because I taking part first. This is the first time I using Hemianthus cuba calitrichoides. I get the first 20 pots in ever. So this was produced from Tropica, and I know that I get the first 20 pots. They don't sell it, but they give me 20 to test it. Sorry. And also there was the Ludwigia cuba here behind. This was also a new plant. So and this was in 2004, and I think this was maybe 6 weeks after, or 4 weeks after I set up, and this was the final tank. So it was something like this. But the interesting is with this tank is that I'm taking part at the AGA aquascaping contest with this tank, and win the contest in Washington. I fly to Washington, the USA, and I was honored to getting the grand prize from the AGA contest 2004 with this tank. So this was a start for me also to yeah, to go in this aquascaping contest, not business, but you see, in this period, this was not so common, the contest, like now online. But this was my yeah, one of my favorite aquarium, because also I get the first Puntius Denisoni, the barbs from Asia inside. They was also new. So it's 2004. It's now, oh God, 19 years ago. It's a long time. I'm getting old. So, and then I, when I work in the shop as a freelancer, I has very free hand what I make, what I can do, try to inspire the customers to buy new fish or something else. So in this case, I using some branches of wood. This is cork, is swimming, and I put some fishing lines left and right, and I use them as a floating wood and put some blue angel fish insides and some corridors. I think white sand. It's very simple, very easy, but very effective, because when the people see the fish swimming through the floating tree, it was very interesting idea. So also something like this. As I was also a big Hobbit fan, I buy some Lego stuff and try to. There's a scenery in the film. There's a similar rock formation like this, and I just want to copy this in the aquascape. So I'm using only Hemianthus cuba and put the golem inside, and also the ring is. So this was a nano tank, 60 liter nano. Okay, but yeah. So you see some of the picture I didn't see a long time ago, but this is like when you're asking an artist when he paint a picture, he always remember a painting 20 years ago, because you know what, never forget it. So this is for me. It's I do this one time, and for sure there's also the different, because I also do the maintenance from this tank. So I visit them once a week or two times a week, and I'm making the maintenance. For this reason, maybe it's more in my brain inside. So wait a second. I'm sorry, but you know, let's go. I hope it's not so boring, because it's very sometimes. Few years, not few years before Corona, I was very active in some shows, live shows, and something else, and also make presentations in front of audience. And it's sometimes easier if you have the connection
Yeah,
with the people.
it's not boring at all, and everyone is talking in the comments about how amazing it is, and
So
every
it's not.
picture is getting better. So,
Yeah, but because it's not easy for me to just talking, and so I just talk to the camera, and I don't know. It's okay.
right.
I
Yep,
don't know.
everyone's loving it. You're doing great.
Okay, good. That's good. So just a little bit back to the, because it was a really big point for me, was the aquatic plants section. And this was really a big passion for me. And at the beginning, have a very strong partnership with Tropica from Denmark. And for sure, we're having a big issue in Europe with all the aquatic plants in the Netherlands or everywhere. So I think it's much more easier to getting aquatic plants like in the USA. I know this problem, but this shop was also a good sample, because if you present plants in a big quantity, you can sell also more, and you inspire the people. But if you only choosing half size or maybe 20%, you don't would sell much more. And for me, the aquatic plants installation was not a work. It was always fun, because I love to present the plants. Yeah, this brings me down a little bit. But it was like gardening. And these are just few pictures from the old nursery from Tropica in 2005 or something else. And I visited them 7, 8 times, I think. And this was always for me, the people was nice, and I see the plants, how they grow. And yeah, it was like in a paradise for aquatic plant nerd. And yeah, this connection was very important for me with the aquatic plant nursery, because like I told you, sometimes I get plants which are not official for sale, just for testing. So I think I was very thankful for this experience with Tropica. So, and this is also an example, again, maybe a little bit boring, hardscape. I think it's brown leaf stones, these, I don't know an exactly name, but there's a plant, very interesting plant, is Hygrophila pinnatifida on the rocks. And this was all the first time in the in the market, and it's a stem plant. They grow on rocks, and nobody has tested before. And so I used this tank, set up the tank. This was maybe 1 week after setup, and after, yeah, to think about 3 months, you can see the difference. You see the red plant in the middle, the pinnatifida, and also behind the I don't remember at the moment. Yes. Or in front the moss. You can see when the people coming inside and see these, especially the red pinnatifida, they always was sold out. Erectus, Pocostemo erectus behind. Maybe it's COVID. That's a problem. It's in my brain. So, and also one part was to set up show tanks in public exhibition. This is different to the shop show tanks, because you have the time, like here you have the 2-3 month time to making a perfect tank. But in exhibition tanks, you always have to try to move on for one day. And sometimes I try to making some crazy things like this. So this just set up in 2 or 3 hours. And okay, I do something like this. But some people don't like when I'm using this in this period, using plastic pandas in aquariums. But I like it. Still like it, because it's looking good, and they're fish safe, because it's kids toy. So they're really safe. And also discus tank I set up. This is just in time for 2 or 3 days of the exhibition. And you can see also in the middle, the foreground, this is hydrocotyle, yeah, carpet. And I getting a complete carpet in this time from period from Tropica. It was on a kind of yeah, white material, like filter material. You just have to lay down and put some gravel inside, and you can see you get a carpet in few minutes. This is the wizard. So then, so I have also the feet here. You see, 14 feet long, 3 feet high, and 4 feet around wide. Sorry. So then comes the time with the bigger tanks in the shops or at customers. This was also a first experience for me. This tank was in 2005, and set up 5 meter or 15 feet long aquarium, a planet aquarium, was also a new experience for me. And I work with a French artist. They built something around the tank. This is handmade from a French artist. And we make this. He made this by because he's specialized in making some artificial rocks like this and trees, and working also for Disneyland. I know he's a French really nice guy, and so this was the first project we make together. And my job now was to try to making a planted tank with this tank. So you see, it's 2005, and I remember the date. It's funny because it was 25 December 2005. So I set up this tank. So I don't have kids. I don't have a girlfriend. So I work at Christmas at this aquarium. No, I think it was not the baddest Christmas I had. It was nice. Um, and I was young and much more fit than today. Yeah, I always when I plant, so I try always plant 80% of the plants inside the tank. So I go inside and plant the tank, and then I cover the the finished plant, the finished parts. I spray with the water and cover them with a foil. And at the end, so when I can't go inside anymore, I try to make the rest from the top. So this was the first time, so I made this experience. So didn't know if I make it right, but it worked. So it's a little bit dark, the picture. This was a few days after the setup, and after a few months, it's also a little bit dark, but I think you see it. Yeah, it grows Echinodoros, Cryptocorina, some angelfish with cardinal tetra, and I taking part with this tank at the EIPLC, the ADA contest 2005, and win the number 10 rank. Hey, but I was very proud because I was in Japan and get a good prize. Yeah, it was a very nice. So I really like this kind of planted tank because it's not so difficult to maintain because especially big Echinodoros, some Microsorum, and in front Cryptocorina or Sagittaria, you don't have to cut them so much. So if you have the right balance between the fish content, food, and also the water parameters, it's not so difficult to grow this big aquariums. It's not a big, it's not a different if you have 500 liter or 5,000 liter. You just has to um, making a bigger amount of plants, and for sure maintenance. I think it's a little bit more difficult sometimes to go inside with the scissors or something else. But for this reason, mostly I use things very simple plants, so nothing complicated. So another sample. This is this similar size, but the difference was they want to put discus inside with a temperature degrees more than 30 degrees Fahrenheit. I didn't know exactly. So I'm choosing a little bit different plants, and also I want to try a foreground plant. So for discus, this was also new experience for me. So this tank is also 1 meter high, and this was in the entrance of the shop. And I think this is 5-6 months ago. You can see the different. The Echinodoros grows really well because they are really, this is Bartii and Uruguayensis, and the foreground plant was Marsilea, and a perfect carpet for discus tank, and a very easy plant also for normal plants. Marsilea, this was Marsilea hisuta, and I remember I using because there was no in vitro plants available in this time, or nobody think about it. And I remember I using normal pots, cut the leaves, and I'm using 150 pots of Marsilea here inside. I don't pay it, so just order it. Oh, anyway. So you can see very easy, nice foreground plant, Marsilea hirsuta. This is always one of my favorite foreground plant for things in the discus. Yeah. And the left, you see this big Echinodorus. So this was another tank. Also, the size was always in this around the same size, 1 meter, 455, 1 meter high or 120 high. This time, this was a Piranha tank, and this was the first Piranha tank I set up. And the problem was not the there was no problem, but I never thought about what piranha do when they start to breeding, because they building holes and cutting the plants like this Vallisneria, and sometimes there was 2-3 pairs inside, and they make me sometimes a little bit crazy. But it was also sorry a nice experience, because I use maybe we can see this. Yeah, maybe you can see this on the picture. There was a cardinal tetra inside, and always the people say, "No, you can't put cardinal tetra with the piranhas," and it's no problem, because it's a small fish, and the piranha is something like this, and it's not their food. So it's when the piranha is getting some food, all the cardinal tetra comes and eating the rest of the piranha food. That's the good thing. But they never eat any cardinal tetra. I see. So if you put small piranhas to big cardinal tetra, that's not good. But small cardinal tetra to big piranhas, don't worry. It's like a white shark and a Nemo. So also, I don't have the big size of the tank, but it's the same size, 4 meter. This was Altum, one of the nicest Altum we're getting from a private breeder, and there was 35 centimeter. I think so, around this size on this, and that was really amazing. There was a German breeder, and they feed a lot of live food, and yeah, never saw some item like this before. And I think they was in the tank 2 weeks, and after them they will sell them all out, unfortunately. They were so nice. So this was another project. This was how call it in English? It's not a normal. It's a tank like a yeah. You see it later. It's in the middle of a tank. You can see it in all sides, and I should set up I planned an Arowana tank, because this was the first time we import Asian Arowana chip with chips, with a chip, also with a paper and everything official. And for this reason, I set up this tank with some lava rocks. And you see, I was so young and I was strong. And this was the tank. So you can see it from six sides. Only the one side is covered with the filter, and the goal was to that the arowanas having enough space to swimming around, and the size in totally liter volume was around 12,000 liter. There was not so big. There was around something like this, but it was a new experience, because with the fish we are a little bit afraid, but it works very well, and was very impressive. Now I think it's not so difficult to get the arowanas in Germany. It's possible. You have to you need to paper something else. I know in other countries, like in the USA, sometimes maybe you have some problems to get some fish where we get some easy inside because of different yeah problems. I know, and but in this time, and it's maybe 18 years ago, it was not easy also for Germany to getting the real one to Germany. So let me see. Yeah, this was another tank in an office from a company. Normally, we doing also when I sell some making some projects. I try to mostly I try to sell the steel construction and the tank, and the customer is responsible for the cabinet and the cover because sometimes the furniture in the house or something else there must fit in the same material color, and it's if you're delivering an aquarium with some ugly cabinet with the wrong color, it fails. And for this reason sometimes it's better you deliver them the raw material with a tank and he making the rest what he think it's good for his room or for his company. You can see it's also 5 meter, 1 meter high, 1 meter deep, and I'm working with some sand filter too. This is a swimming pool filter for the big tanks. One is filled with sand material for the cleaning for the clear water, and the other is filled with a biology material. So this type of filter works very well in these big aquariums. For sure, you can have also a some filter, something else, but in this case, there was a good opportunity. So, and after a few weeks, you see, this was the finished project for the customer. Yeah, it's always a little bit the same plants: Echinodorus, Cryptocarina, Sagittaria, Microsorum, easygoing plants. The only thing what you have to deliver is the right water, not too hard, and for sure CO2 and a little bit fertilizer liquid. Without CO2 and too hard water is always a game like this. But if you have some, the most important issues, soft or medium hard water, permanent or a good CO2 issue, or not issue, you know what I mean, amount, and a good fertilizer system, it's not so difficult for these plants. It's really easy. If you're going in really near to aquascaping with foreground plants and red plants, you need a little bit getting a little bit different fertilizer and something else. But as I told you, to maintain a big aquarium like this, it's not possible to going down and cutting the Hemianthus Cuba carpet. I think it's possible, but the customer always want to have a nice and easygoing tank mostly. So this is a project I do in 2010 in a private clinic. It's 2,000 liter. The thing was that this is 160 high and it's glass. We don't have much acrylic tanks in Germany, so we're working 90% with glass. And this was the highest tank I made. It was 160 centimeter. So, and the glass is 2 times 19 millimeter, around 4 centimeter glass, two glasses. And yeah, it was a little bit difficult tank because it was on the right side only 40 centimeter wide and the left side 80, and it's hanging out of the wall. So, and I don't have much space for the filter. So it was a little bit strange project, but I do it, and I still have it, and the look is something different. Sometimes I remove some plants, but the basement is still the same, and only the fish changing sometimes. And it's now 13 years old. Now this was from the beginning, and you can see on these pictures. So the tank is hanging a little bit around outside, and this was a little bit difficult because of the architects, and the problem was the heavy of the tank. So the tank himself with a glass 2,000 kilo, 2 tons, and the water also 2 tons. So we have 4 tons or 4,000 kilo, and yeah, this was a little bit difficult, not, but scary, but it's still alive. So, and yes, and sometimes I also try to do some a little bit different things, like this dragon I'm doing in a dragonscape I'm doing in a live scaping contest. I try always, when I was younger, I try always to make something different thing. So, and because it makes me fun, and sometimes it was too much. Sometimes people like it, sometimes not, but it's always the same. Some people like it, some people not. So if you are satisfied, that's good, and if the people like it too, then it's the best combination. It's the same, like this was also at this exhibition. I cutting a nano tank and put them together with this structure, and there was a small pump in the sump, and the pump in the sump goes into the nano tank and flows again back, and then I having this kind of wabi-kusa, we can call it. It's also aquatic plants, and yeah, this makes fun. So, and I do also these live shows I told you before Corona. So especially, I think after 2012, there's comes a long period till 2018. I'm doing a lot of shows also in the USA. I was 2 or 3 times. This was Nuremberg, Indaso, and I'm making live scaping events. So if I told you I don't want to, I'm not so much in front of cameras and talking with the people in the camera. So that's true, because, for example, like a lot of YouTuber do, but I'm not so. But there's a different on a stage. If you are working on a tank, like a cook, and you have the people around you, that's a little bit different, because I'm concentrated to work and try to explain what I make. But for this reason, speaking in front of a camera to a lot of people, it's always different for me. So this guy on the left side, he was my translator in this time. This is always the best if you're having a not a translator, but a supporter. So was in Germany, and I think I remember yeah, I speak in English, I think. I also speak in English, but Chris' English is much more better than mine. And he can interact with the people and can talk with them. And it's much more easier having assisting like him behind you when you're making something like this, because you can concentrate a little bit more on your work. And if you're having a good promoter on your side, like Chris. So this I also do at the Inter. So I'm creating this nano tank, and I put, okay, you see the Kiss singer. I put the face on the moss man, and using a small canister filter, and the water flows from the from the from the head down the moss man and goes and putting some dry ice inside the water. Yeah, a little bit crazy. So this was also exhibition show tanks. These are also made for a nano scaping event. I just put the tank a little bit more on the side and put some moss around. It was also the first time I tried this to to inspire the people. I think moss is now getting more popular than 10 years or 12 years ago, also outside. But in this case, I love the combination because it's and if you're making installation like this, because the moss coming from the from the forest, you always can smell the breathe the air, the the air of the forest because you can feel it. So I like this. Okay, this is what I also try to do. I using this Coca-Cola bottle and making a small wabi-kusa tank. Okay, nobody needed, but I wanted to do it. So this is the artist, and I also because I love to eat this kind of cream. I do is also with this because it's a very nice decoration. I never do any have any work to just put some soil inside. This is a small in vitro plant, and they grow for several weeks near from around. No, you don't need any extra light. Just put them a little bit not into the dark, so you can you recycle your decoration things. This is all what I do. Is this was a floating cladophora. It was I using styrofoam bowl and I using maybe 20 or 30 cladophora moss balls, wrap them around, and then I using a big sucker on the bottom of the tank and a fishing line and hang them inside the tank. And this was a floating giant cladophora. I can talk it, and it grows very well. So all the plants you see here, on the right side, is anubias, different mosses, hygrophila. They grow perfect without any substrate, just in the on the bowl, and yeah, it's perfect. So I just want to show you also some short slides from my big experience also in Japan, because I was one of the honestly one of the first Europe who worked for 2 weeks at in Japan at ADA as a kind of practical training. And this was in 2005 at the Japan party, ERPLC party in Niigata. And when I was first time 2004 inside, so this was for me like it's I don't know how I can compare. This was for me the highest level I ever see in aquatic plants, and for sure meet Takashi Amano or something else, because when he starts maybe 1998 with the first books, or 1995, 1996, and you see you can see the plans and what they create. And now I was in Niigata in the middle of nowhere, and directly to see him and to see the tanks, it was really a nice experience. And I still the most impressive part in my life for my aquarium hobby or business was the visit to Japan to this gallery. And it's 2005, so you see it's at least also 18 years ago. You see nano tanks, you see you see everything what's now is normal, and there always was a little bit a part of in front 2 or 3 years of the other. So and yeah, this was I remember this tank because I set up this tank together with the staff and Amano 2004. So this was also very nice to see 1 year after I came back. When I worked 2004 at Japan and see the tanks how they develop was a really nice experience. And for sure, this was a really big honor. This was they still existing. This tank, this is a private tank from Mr. Amano, 5 meter long, 150 high, 150 deep, I think. This is, I think, one of the most yeah, important tanks in his career because it was really impressive to see. And you can see also when you can see in the people or on the top of the tank, there's a possibility for the daylight to grow also the tanks with the daylight. So yeah, it was very impressive. So it's the kind of living room in front, and you like in Japan you sit in front, and it was really impressive, this kind of aquarium, and very private time. You can see here around we was invited the international guests in 2005. Sorry for the international guests in 2005. They was invited for tea and we're sitting around here in the table and watching this really amazing tank. And yeah, this was a time I don't forget it. So for this reason, I will thank this man because he do so many things for the aquatic plant or for nature aquarium or for aquascaping. So this is for me, this is the biggest legends. Unfortunately, he don't live anymore. Sensor, I just need you if you can get.
Yep, I'm here.
So
So,
I'm finished with my
yep,
slides because I was too fast because
that's
I see
okay.
my my breath is going down.
No worries, no worries. So let me just do this here. And well, that was very, very amazing. A lot of, I mean, I was reading the chat comment throughout the presentation, and everybody is just talking about, I like this tank. Oh, I like this tank. So amazing artistry and creativity. We love it. We're also excited to have your book soon, maybe sometime
Yep.
this year if we can get those over. So a lot of people are already excited about the book. So um,
Next week I sign the books.
all right, excellent. I know I'm going to buy a copy, and I'm sure everyone else here is going to try to buy a copy too. So very excited for that. So we do have some questions from the chat. So of course, everyone was talking about how they love your different aquascapes. Um, Even in the very beginning, that first tank that you showed that you planted, and I looked at that tank like that looks like pretty easy, and then 4 months later it's this amazing beautiful scape. So for something like that, how much time do you take to go from that just a basic planted tank that you built in a store to show those amazing colors and the plant growth? Obviously CO2 and everything, but what are you doing as far as maintenance to make it look like that?
So I think the most important is the beginning. So the first 3-4 weeks they are the key of these tanks because especially if you're using more light and more fast growing plants, and if you just let them and don't check the CO2 issue or the light, then it's can getting a little bit, you can get problems. So for this case, in this case, I was at the tanks. I know they are a little bit more light on the most different. The issue is most the light. If you're using much more light, you have to take care much more. And
Okay.
at this time, I was every 3 days at the tank and making a small water change and
Okay.
check all the things. And so I go on the first 3 weeks and to give them a better start. And also the
Okay.
difference is that are using in these tanks the most time soil, active soil,
Mm-hmm.
and this is makes also it's very there's going a lot of things on in the aquarium. So the pH goes down, the
Right.
carbonate hardness goes down. So for this reason, I try to push them. So the first 3-4 weeks they need more care. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
baby.
Yep. Okay. That's a good analogy. I guess the baby's going to grow up to be a beautiful kid, but takes a lot of work to get it
Yeah,
there.
and you're getting also sometimes you're getting a little bit algae, so and then you
Uh-huh.
can put some shrimps inside and something.
Yeah.
Then you can react. But if you just set up the tank and 2 weeks later you come, then it's not good.
Disaster. Yes. So you talked about the active soil. I saw that in a lot of the displays you use sand or gravel or something. So do you use all different types of substrate, or do you have like a favorite type of substrate that you use?
So I grow up without soil. So
Mm-hmm.
my first tanks there was only with with a lava material and some
Mm-hmm.
gravel on the top and a lot of fertilizer inside. Oh, so
Okay.
down. But and then for sure, if there come the soil, you have new issues. And
Yes.
because the soil, I also visited a soil producer in Japan in 2006, and it's volcanic ash or volcanic earth, and they're so rich in nutrients, and the plants can
Mm-hmm.
grow perfect inside. So, but it's also possible if you see that the plants can grow also on the balls or something else. They don't need a substrate sometimes.
Right.
the the more important, I think, is also that you're having the CO2 inside, you having the right
Mm-hmm.
fertilizer inside, so you can also use aquarium only with sand.
Right.
Also, no
Okay.
problem.
Because that's what we found is that like the active soil, it could work, but like you said, it can change the pH. You're going to have a bunch of other problems, algae breakouts. So it's nice to know that you've used a lot. So talking about fertilizer, people asked like, what's your fertilizer routine? How often are you using fertilizer?
Yeah, so normally I having my my standard iron uh, main fertilizer,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on the light issues or how much fish inside, I'm using NPK system
Mm-hmm.
inside. So some nitrate, phosphate, potassium. So this combination is fits good. So sometimes it's always I have a normal planted tank with normal light and using just this complete fertilizer liquid with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of iron issues. And normally I don't have so much fish. Or when I have normal issues of fish inside, I'm getting some nitrate or phosphate over the food,
Mm-hmm.
and because also the plants don't need so much. Because but if I change it into more light and more fast growing plants, then changing everything. They eat more, they need
Mm-hmm.
more, less fish. You need to put more potassium, maybe sometimes a little bit nitrate phosphate. So it's always changing. So I prefer so for if you want to don't have too much stress, I
Mm-hmm.
prefer the normal tanks,
Yes. Yes.
normal
We like,
lightning.
yeah, that's why we like easy
Yeah,
plants.
the easy
Easy,
one.
easy. Yes.
For sure, if you want to go to really red plants, the small forkworm plants and something
Mm-hmm.
else, and you have to cut them every 2 weeks, it's the part of a hobby. You have to have the passion inside. You have to
Right.
have to love it, and then you can do it. But I always love the aquarium with some cryptococcus, some moss, some ferns, and do nothing.
Yeah.
Easy going.
Yes, yeah, easy going is good. And I think people when they see these scapes, they think, wow, that's amazing, but they don't realize that, yeah, you have to trim the plants every 2 weeks and you got to clean everything. You mentioned earlier about algae, and someone had asked, how do you keep algae from forming on the rocks in hardscape? Because that's something that they have an issue with.
Yeah, it's depending on the different algae what you have for sure. For sure, the black one, the black what the name of the
Blackbeard.
yeah, they're
Uh-huh.
really the shitty one.
Yeah.
But I always normally when I set up planted tanks with normal fish, so I always using Amano shrimps inside.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, some snails Neritina, some eldritch snails, Olocinklus. I always having this kind of cleaning tube inside the tank
Mm-hmm.
really early, not 3 months after. So just from the beginning, because then you're having getting not so much the problems. But if you have the problem, then you have to you face the problem, and then you have to try. You can using. I know this also from Amano when they get problems on the rocks, they're putting 200 snails inside,
Mm-hmm.
waiting 2 3 days, and put the snails out.
Oh, okay.
So you can. It's they eat everything.
Yeah. So it's like a cleaning crew that you take your snails, put them
Yeah,
in the tank, and then you can take them out later.
yeah, it's also
Interesting. So
possible.
for everybody out there that's wondering about snails, they do have a great benefit. So there are some people that love snails and some people that don't like snails. So we always
Yeah.
like to talk about snails. Now you talked about fish, and someone had asked, like, do you have a favorite type of fish? Do you prefer like small fish or like a large centerpiece fish in your scapes?
Yeah, for sure. When I start with the big big tanks, you have new issues for bigger fish. But then I also see big fish in planted tanks. It's sometimes not so the best. So if you
Mhm.
have fish like Arowanas or something else, or like angelfish, that's easy. But if you start some Middle or South American cichlids inside, uh, you
Just
can-
tear it up.
so I like the big fish sometimes,
Hmm.
and but I try to find the right balance with the tank. So they if they don't destroy anything, if they are not too big for, maybe they go in the decoration or in the plants, and also everything inside. And
Right.
so for this reason, and I love to have also the character fish like puffer fish or
Hmm.
something else inside, because fish with character sometimes very
Yeah.
interesting.
I always love to just to watch your stuff online, and obviously you've got the amazing Amano inspired aquascapes and everything, but you even do like lots of African cichlids and all that
Yes.
kind of stuff. So it's very, very nice to see that you're very balanced with the type of fish that you care for or the type of tanks that you're working with. So a last question that we have here, and I'm curious also, is to talk a little bit about your time in Japan. So obviously there's the book, and we'll have the book for everybody, but if you could tell us a little bit about your time with Takashi Amano, and maybe what you remember the most from that time, or what was your
so
favorite part?
So the history was this, that I am working in 1998. So 1998, I'm working in the pet store, and I was the first shop in Germany who have the complete assortment from ADA.
Hmm.
So there was ADA first time in Europe, and I have an ADA shop
Yep.
inside. And there was the honor a half year ago, later, that Amano visit our shop, and this was the start that I having a person. So for me, this was, oh my God,
Right.
Amano visit the shop.
The star came to see you. Yeah.
And I remember that I set up in the shop aquarium with a Buddha statue
Uh-huh.
there. So, and he just take a look in front. What's this? What's this? He was really funny. But because he is, you know, I know people talk me or some as the people so inside Amano's always talk to me. So Amano understand English, but he don't want to speak English. So
Hmm.
you have to choose the right words.
Right.
But he never speak English, so always only Japanese. So
Hmm.
anyway, after this first meeting, then we meet us also in Washington. He was in Washington at the AGA
Hmm.
um, convention, and we meet us 2 or 3 times. And I think it was in Italy, and then I asked him during a dinner if I don't can visit them in Japan. Oh,
Hmm.
I can come. So,
Yeah.
and this was my official invitation. And yes, it's really strange if you're having um, some men. It was always for me like the big sensei. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He, I always respect because it's not my. I was a little bit shy for sure, but maybe because for me it was a big person, and for me he was really a legend. And now I'm in his company and can can make experience. So it was really nice to have this experience. And for sure, 2004 when I visit ADA, it was also the first time Japan for me. So it was
Mm-hmm.
I was never in Japan before, and then when I was in the company in Japan in Niigata, so it was a very traditional Japanese company. So it was not like in Tokyo working for Mitsubishi. It was
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah a family company, and Mr. Amano Sensei, it was the samurai. Huh?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
he was the boss, and yeah, it was so nice experience because I always have these this distance. You have this distance because of the language. That's the
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Right.
You have the translator for sure, but if you know, in Japan is always the same. If you having an official translator, he always will translate the good things
Mm-hmm.
and the bad
Mm-hmm.
things. So it was
Right.
not so easy. So for this reason, it was for me, yeah, really strange because. But this time, in these 2 weeks, I remember so much in my brain that I am when I decide 10 years after 2004, I decide to write a book. So all the things I write a book inside a book there was 10 years ago in my brain. So
Mm-hmm.
I still remember this. For this was have a big impact in my life.
Right.
So also the
Yeah.
working, how the Japanese work, and how they set up Aquarium in ADA, and we we work 6 7 hours for prepare the plants only for one tank. This was really new for me, but
Mm-hmm.
was really nice.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. What an experience, and it's very apparent that Mr. Amano's legacy has carried on with you and all of the work that you do. And I think now you kind of have a similar uh, kind of following where people look to you and say, "Wow, I hope one day I can meet Oliver Knott and shake his hand or see something that he's done in person." I know we would love to have you visit one day. Hopefully, when you feel better, you can
Yeah,
come visit us in the U.S. and I'm sure we'll have a big event and everyone will want to meet you. So, Oliver, again, thank you very much for taking the time and speaking to this to our club members, and very much appreciate it. And it was very, very enjoyable. So I know that people that missed the live stream, they're going to come back and watch it, or probably they'll watch it again just to see all the photos. So thank you very much.
thank
And
you.
yeah, so members, again, thank you for being members. Thank you for continuing to support Aquarium Co-op. If you haven't done so already, there is a video on the Aquarium Co-op channel that came out today. Maybe not as exciting as others because I'm in it, but if you're around this point, then yeah, go ahead and check out that video. So with that, we'll catch you next month with the next presentation. Thanks again. Don't forget to enjoy Nature Daily, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thanks again.